Good morning, Vesta. How are you? So good to be back live. Okay, just straightening my camera a little bit. Oh, so how are things in Colorado? Things are well here, constantly thinking of Florida and the Carolinas, everybody who's still recovering from Helene. My mother-in-law and her husband and my brother-in-law who live in Sebring, they are okay. So that, I mean, that's what we know this morning, that they're okay. They are without power, I believe, but in the scheme of things, you know, as a whole, they fared pretty well. But definitely keeping everybody in my thoughts and prayers who on both the coasts. You know, as it was coming in, it was kind of a benefit that the bands were going out and moving some water out, but on the other coast, those bands were pushing everything in. So it was just, it's crazy, and I can't even imagine what it feels like to have to rebuild, and just, oh my goodness. I know there's a lot of people who are making their way down to help. So, you know, the good thing about community is they will pull together and they will help each other out. But man, two storms back to back is just, that's just unbelievable. So I am so happy for those of you who can be here. Remember, keep everybody else in your thoughts and prayers. And I know that when they can, they will catch up and be able to hopefully relax a little bit and just come back and watch the replay, just even, you know, just a little bit of time to let your mind focus on something else and then go back at the task at hand. Hi, Cindy. Oh my goodness, so many people are on. I'm going to bring my computer a little bit closer to me so that I can read the names. Hi, Sharon and Kathy, Vesta, Carol, and there's a few other ones that it's scrolling pretty quickly. Diane, hi, Linda. So this quilt block was inspired, rather it was like challenged. So Jill Blanchett, Green Thumb Stampers, we were messaging one night and she had a question about a quilt block and asked me if I knew the name of it, and I didn't. I tried researching, but I was kind of teasing her like, you do it, and she's like, no, you do it. And so then we got to, well, I can do this block in, you know, X number of steps. And it was kind of like that, name that tune. I can name that tune in so many notes. And I'm doing it. And so it can be done different ways. The way that I'm teaching you today is the way I decided to go with. As you do it, you might see corners that you can cut or shortcuts that you can take. So when you find those opportunities, take them. This is just what I settled on to show you today. So while I am flipping the camera around, please say good morning to each other and we will get ready to go. Some of you may hear Luther, the neighbor's dog, outside talking. I want to move that up a little bit. And we're going to, I think I can maybe bring this out a little bit. we go. Okay, we're getting there. That's better. And then I think if I just come in a little bit and move things up, I'm going to have to remember I need to be working at the top of my workspace here. Oh, that's even much better. Okay. So yes, Luther is saying good morning to everybody. I'm sure you can hear him. He lives right outside my window. Okay. Best I'll make sure that I tell him that you said hi. Helene, Utah is in full color. Really? They're saying that our peak should be like the last 2 weeks of October. So, you know, a lot of that has to do with the weather and everything. And so we'll see. Michaeline, how are you doing? Where in Florida do you live? Just wondering what you might have seen and experienced from Milton. We're glad that you're well. Hi, Betty and Pam. Okay, so last night, this was just a regular A2 card. But I decided to also make it a fun fold. So, you know, last minute change it up kind of things. And I also did, I'm going to bring in 2 pieces that were not in the directions or the prep instructions, but they're optional. Okay, so when we bring those out, and I will show them to you, if you like the look, then, you know, you can go ahead and cut yourself a couple of pieces. Let's start with our cardstock. But this is the pattern paper that I chose to pull my colors from. This is from the To Market Designer Series paper. And I'm going to bring out the Blackberry Bliss as my card base and my layers. So let me set these somewhere they're not going to get lost. And I'm going to bring in my trimmer. And working with the 8.5 inch side across the top. Now I can see that maybe, let's see if I can shrink this just a little bit. Get more of the trimmer there. It doesn't really give me more. Hi, Susan. Hi, Mary. Mary, how are you? How are things in the villages? Hi, Jackie. Okay, Michaeline says her area did pretty good. You live close to Melbourne. Boy, you know, looking at the Weather Channel and different things that our weathermen had been saying, Melbourne was it seemed like was going to get hit pretty good, but is that because it weakened as it got near you? But what about all that water it was pushing? And Michaeline, isn't Melbourne over by Cape Canaveral? I have family in Titusville, and I know it's up there, I think close to you maybe? Okay, Mary says everything is good there. Stephanie, hello. Linda, how are things in North Carolina? We're keeping North Carolina in our prayers. Hi, Becky. It says there's no place on my desk. That's how I'm starting to feel here. And you should have seen my desk before, like an hour ago. Oh my goodness. Okay, so 8.5 inch across the top. We're going to cut it in half at 4 1/4. Okay. And it doesn't matter which 4 1/4. I'm going to use this one here. We're going to rotate it and we're going to score it in half at 5.5. So get your cutting blade out of the way. Okay, so set this piece aside. And then with the extra, I'm going to put my arm out here, because I am going to turn this with the 11-inch across the top. I'm going to cut this at 7. So cut it at 7. But it's a little wide at 4 1/4. I want to bring this down to 3.5. So I'm going to put this edge on 3.5. And so I'm trimming off basically 3/4 of an inch on the long side. So this piece right here, this is scrap. Okay. Now that we have this 3.5 by 7-inch piece of cardstock, we're going to score this in half at 3.5. So half of 7 is 3.5. I'm going to score that. We're going to set this to the side. And now you're left with a 4 by 4 1/4 inch piece of cardstock. Rotate it so that your 4 inches is across the top. And we're going to score this at, we're going to score it at 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, 3. And I meant for us to flip it around on the 1 and the 3. So let's do that. Let's flip it over, because we're going to fold this kind of like an accordion. And so I'm just flipping it over, going back to my 1 and scoring it. And then going over here to 3 and scoring it. It just helps with folding it. It would have been fine the other way, but I wanted to make sure that I had flipped it over, and I got ahead of myself and didn't do that. So, and we're going to set this aside. We're not going to deal with those right now. I'm going to put the arm back on my trimmer. And those little 3/4 by 1.5 inch strips that you cut, now you can either make tick marks, you can, with a pencil and a ruler, but what I'm going to do is I am going to score these in half at 3/4 of an inch. Because they're 1.5 inches long, half of that is 3/4. So I'm just going to put those, I'm going to put them up there at my trimmer. And I'm going to score each one of them in half. So you can do this with a pencil and a ruler. Because I'm going to quilt my block when it's done, the score line's going to go away, but it is going to serve a purpose while we get started. And one more, 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so stack those together and set them aside with your other pieces for your quilt block. Hi Jan. Coming to us from the Canadian Rocky Mountains. And it's her first time, you guys, with us. So everybody welcome Jan. Linda says the mountain area hits so unbelievably hard. You know what, Linda? We saw that on the news too, that a family of 11, oh my goodness, it's just heartbreaking. Mary! Oh my goodness! Mary's here! Awesomeness! Hi, Julia. Okay, so, let's put this away. And we're going to do a little bit of stamping. So on your light or neutral 3 1/4 inch square. Now here's where I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, just so it's easier to see. I love this stamp set. It's called Enjoying Little Things, and it is just the best. If you don't have it, get it, because it can be used for so many different occasions. And I'm going to tell you, wait till you see how beautiful this stamps right here. This is my new favorite stamp set. So I'm going to use that happy birthday. I am going to use the little flower bouquet, but we're also on a scrap piece of paper. I have got to see what this little doggy stamps like. This is just the most adorable little image ever. So while we've got the ink and everything out, I'm going to stamp him too, because he's just the best. So I'm going to stamp in Blackberry Bliss, which is the color of my cardstock and everything. And this image is really nice because you can use the 2 3/8 inch circle punch to punch it out if you want to. But I'm not going to do any punching. And you guys, this is going to be kind of tricky because I don't want to be in... you know how I don't usually stamp during my lives because it just seems awkward like this. So let's just... I'm going to just hold it for a second. Look how beautiful that is. Oh, I just love it. I just love it. I know it's looking like it's black, but it's Blackberry Bliss. And I'm going to come in with that little bouquet of flowers. Make sure I got good coverage. Tap, tap, tap. And I'm going to put this right in the center. I hope it's going to be in the center. You guys, I got to bring it down. I'm so sorry. I just have to. There we go. Not too shabby, Julie. Just absolutely love this stamp set. So while we've got the ink out and we're playing a little bit, oh, I just got to do this doggy. I just know he's going to be so smoochable. Oh my gosh. Whoops, I think I need some on his tail. Okay, here we go. Oh my gosh, you guys. Look at him. If you love dogs, if for no other reason, get this stamp set. Isn't he cute? Mwah! I just love him. Okay, so let's put the ink away and get all of this out of the way so that I don't ruin anything. Oh my goodness, he's just so cute. Okay, so let's get back to what we're doing. Again, it's called Enjoying Little Things, and it's in the October to December mini catalog. Love it. And now we're going to build our quilt block. So we're going to set our sentiment aside. I'm going to bring in my 3-inch square. And again, I'm using the To Market Designer Series paper, and I was just pulling colors that are within that Designer Series paper. I was pulling colors from the DSP for my quilt block. So I've got the 4 strips that are 3 1/4 by 1 1/2, and I went ahead and I scored them in half at 3 1/4. Again, you could use your pen or a pencil and a ruler and make tick marks and, you know, halfway down on both sides. And then I have a medium value and a light value. And here my bigger pieces are more of they're not necessarily dark, but they're definitely a darker value than the medium, and there's really good contrast between my background. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Get out your snips, and if you don't like doing this part with your snips, you can use your trimmer. But I am gonna cut them in half diagonally, corner to opposite corner. And I am going to create my half square triangles. So I got 2 green. I need 4 green altogether. Or this is my medium value. And then snip your light. Okay, so there's the light. One more. Okay. And I am going to put all of these light triangles together right on top of each other. And for now, I'm just going to keep them all together up there. And I'm going to do the same with my green. And I'll explain to you why I have them stacked when we get to building our quilt block. Okay, so those are right up there. And now with those rectangles, okay, I thought I saw something pop up here. Oh, hey, Betty. Okay, and Mary Ellen's here. Great. So I'm hoping that you can see this. So what I am going to do is, you can see my score line right here, right? I'm going to put the inside of my snips on that score line on the right hand side, and I am going to cut to the opposite corner. Okay, and I'm going to, this is actually going to be scrap. So right now, this is what my piece looks like. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this bottom right hand corner, and I am going to put that point in my snips, and I am going to cut up into that score line. If anybody can tell me what this shape is when it's done, please do, because I don't know what it's called other than it looks like a long diamond. So it's going to look like that, and this corner is scrap. Okay, so I'm going to do that for all 4 of my strips. I'm just going to put the triangles that I'm cutting off, I'm just going to put them to the side. You might find a use for them somewhere in your card. It'd be really a shame to not use them, but I really had not thought about it. Okay. And one more. Once you see the quilt pattern, this will make sense to you. And there's that one there. So if I'm going to put this on this background piece just so that you can see that those strips have now become these angles. Okay. What I want you to do is I want you to stack them right on top of each other so that they are laying right on each other, and keep them all together. Okay. Now, what I want to do is bring in that 3-inch square that's the background paper. And what we want to do is we want to make 4 equal. I'm moving these pieces out of the way because I actually, oh, I do have a piece of grid paper handy. Hold on. I was going to use my trimmer, but no, I don't want to use that. Hold on. Oh, here's my notebook. Okay. The grid paper always just helps me line up my square, and they're just guidelines for my ruler and my pencil. But what we want to do is we want to make 4 equal quadrants of this 3-inch square. So at 1.5 inches, which is 6 of these 1/4-inch squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we're going to line it up. And then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to do the same thing. Now, if you're working with a dark, or if you're working with any paper that it's hard to see your pencil line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, do the best you can, but I went with a light background so that you wouldn't have to face that. Okay. So here I have 4 equal squares of 1.5-inch squares. And we're going to erase some of those lines, so have an eraser handy. And the reason I had you stack these all the same way is because we're going to use some muscle memory here. And where we place our first, whatever shape this is, we're going to turn our square counterclockwise so that that piece is going, we're handling it in the same way, and it's going in the exact same space as the one we did before. We're not trying to figure out how it's supposed to go. We're going to do the same each time, so it's muscle memory. And what I want you to be aware of is this short side right here is going to lay right on our pencil line. Not this long side, but the short side. So we always want to do a dry run first. So here I've got my point where this intersection is, and I've got that there. Now I'm going to turn it. I'm going to pick this piece up, and it's the exact same thing. I am not turning my hand. I'm not doing anything different. I'm laying it exactly how I did the one before it. Turn it counterclockwise. Pick that piece up the same way. Lay it down. And this last piece is going to go down. Now, what am I looking for? Hopefully my points are coming all the way out to the edge. If they're a little short, that's okay. And now that I am happy with this placement, then I'm going to bring in my liquid glue. Now I'm going to pick this up, and I'm just going to flip it over. I just refilled this, so. And then I'm going to put it right back down. That short side is on the pencil mark. My tip is going to the outside. I'm going to turn it. pick it up, flip it over, you can use your reverse tweezers if that helps you with picking them up. You know me, I go old school and I just pick them up with my fingers. Turn it and do the same thing until you get back to the beginning. Hopefully there's a quilter watching who can tell me what this shape is. I know that if I was cutting fabric, I'd be using, I believe, the 45-degree angle on like the Omni ruler or any other ruler that's got your angles, and you'd be, I think it's 45-degree angle that they were being cut on, but I don't know what you call this shape. It terrified me in quilting. I would never think to do this shape. And I really do want to learn it on my ruler because it opens up so many quilt pattern possibilities. So here we've kind of got like a pinwheel going on. Okay, we don't need these pencil lines anymore. So go ahead, and before we start gluing our half square triangles down, just go ahead and get rid of your pencil lines because we're not going to need them. We just needed them to get started. Okay. So bring in your medium value triangles, and I want you to rotate them so that the 90-degree angle is down here in the bottom right, and your long side is like falling to the right. Get these other ones out of there, because we're going to pick them up in exactly that way to do our next step. Oh, Stephanie, oh my god, parallelogram. Oh my goodness, I can't even say it, but I'm glad there's a name for it. Okay, so our medium value half square triangles, to the left, we're going to always be working up here in the upper left-hand corner. Okay, this 90-degree angle is going to butt up to the piece that we just put down. And if you find that you're a little longer in the tooth, so to speak, on your triangle and how you cut your angles, well, then you can always see if there's a triangle that works better, but keep them going the same way. And again, this is all in the cutting. Now that one actually fits a lot better. And what I mean by that is, see how I've got a really nice tight corner right there. It's fitting, it's butting up really nice compared to the one that I had before. Okay, so before we glue it down, again, we're doing a dry run. I'm going to turn it. And let's see if that triangle I didn't really like the first time works better right here, and it does. Okay. Turn it counterclockwise. Pick this up exactly the same way. I like how that one fits. Turn it, and this one right here should work right there. It's a little longer, but you know what? It's not that much longer. Actually, it works pretty well. So once you're happy with that, then you're going to pick up those half square triangles and you're going to glue them down. And remember that 90-degree angle, that corner, should be in the bottom and it matches up with that. So I'm just gonna just keep turning this. Once you've got like your pieces going in the way that you're gonna pick them up and lay them down, this is really a lot easier. And does this kind of remind you of any other block maybe recently? Without giving it away. It's actually not even the same, but it's kind of built on the same principle. It's just another variation. This is going to go here. Butt it right up to that other piece. And I think we're only got one more to do. Whoops. I didn't want to leave my fingers. Is that one down? Yeah, that one is down. Okay, so now we've got those triangles in place. And now we're going to bring in those light half square triangles. Mine kind of got a little wonky here. Let me put them back into the way they're supposed to go. And what we want to do is we're going to rotate them, and where our 90-degree angle was down here, we want it up at the top. So this is how you want to have them positioned. And where do these go? Well, they're always going to go underneath this last triangle that we put down. This one's a little long, but what you see happening here is this edge right here is going to create a pinwheel within the center of our quilt block. And that one's kind of long across the top. So I'm going to set that one back up to the top, and I'm going to see if I can find another one that maybe isn't quite so long. That's probably his buddy right there. And if they all seem that way, then I'm just going to I'm going to roll with it. I'm going to try one more. Does not have to be perfect. Actually, I'm going to go back to the very first one. If you want to try and mess around with like shortening things up or whatever, you can go for it. But if it's not so noticeable that it looks really wonky, then I'm going with it. My point hangs over here just a little bit. I think I'm just going to leave it. And I'm going to go counterclockwise. And I'm going to get that other square. And it could be that I was a little off in my measuring when I cut my 3/4 inch squares. That one's not too bad. It's not really that noticeable. But your half square triangle should be completing the pinwheel that's in the center. That one's not too bad. That one's pretty good. So this one's got to work. And that's not too bad. So now that I'm happy, or as happy as I'm going to be, I definitely don't want to have to start over. Then just finagle this. I got a little bit of glue outside of there. Just going to go ahead and glue them all down. So this is a little putsy, I know, but it makes a really striking quilt block. You've got your pinwheel going on in the center. But this is a version of the Lemoyne star. Remember, we just did a Lemoyne star 2 weeks ago. This is just another variation. And you might be asking, well, where is the Lemoyne star? Well, this here and this here, these coming together in like a little arrow, that's part of your Lemoyne star. We just have different patterns going on, so you don't see it as well. But this is just another variation. That's the great thing about quilt blocks, is the traditional block that started it all will have so many variations that people have added over the years. Okay, so we've got them all glued down. And there is our quilt block. Okay, so you kind of got two different quilt blocks going on. You've got your inside pinwheel, and then you've got, if this here was the same color as this light piece, you would definitely see the Lemoyne star pop out. But we've got that pinwheel in there with another, a different pattern. So, thank you, Mary. So, we got to quilt it, right? We need to give our quilt block some texture. I'm going to use the Timber 3D embossing folder, which is off to the side here because I have no room on my table. I am going to take this and I am going to quilt it. Now, if you've got a really deep embossing folder, you know what? I think I'm going to take this little tiny tip off. I might live to regret this, but that's just bothering me. That one there. I think I'm going to take this little tip off too. I just want to square it up. Not that noticeable, and plus once we quilt it, it's going to be even less noticeable. Be careful if you've got a really deep embossing folder, because you're embossing designer series paper, not cardstock. So you kind of, it's a little bit more fragile. So I'll be right back. And this is just for texture. Okay, so we'll take this out, and this just lays all of these little pieces down. It lays them down, it smooths it out, and they just kind of melt together. So it can be very forgiving on some pieces that you have that might not have been perfectly matched up. Just the texture alone can trick the eye and you don't see it. So there is our quilt block. And now it's time to put our card together. Okay, so our quilt base, let's go back. Let's bring in that 4 1/4 by 11. We scored it in half at 5 1/2. Let's burnish our score line. Okay, let's bring in the 3 1/2 by 7. We scored that at 3 1/2. Let's give that a nice burnish. And then the 4 by 4 1/4. This is where we scored at 1 inch, 2 inch, and 3 inch along the 4 inch side. I'm going to start with the middle fold. I'm going to fold it in half and burnish it. Remember how I flipped it over? And the reason why I did that is so that this would fold really easily the other way. We're making like an accordion here. And then this other side's going to fold back on itself. And I'll show you as soon as I'm done burnishing. We're going to have like a W. Because our fun fold is going to be a tent card. So see how it looks like a W? So you got valley, mountain, and valley. That's going to be our little mechanism for our tent card, but we're not going to glue this baby in just yet. So put that off to the side. Let's bring in our card base. We've got the fold at the top. And this is the background layer that I chose. And it was the inspiration piece that I used to pull my colors. And we're going to glue this down to the front. Oh, and don't you just love a new bottle of Tombow? Oh my goodness, it comes out so nice and easy. And if you're using directional paper, make sure before you put it down that it's going the right way. Okay, so there's our background. And here is another little, here's where our, because this is a tent card, a fun fold, we're creating this little card in a card. If this was to open, if we weren't making a tent fold, you could have a card within a card. But because it's a tent fold, this is where my sentiment is going to lie. So I'm going to glue my sentiment to the inside. And before we put our quilt block on the front, we're going to glue this to our card front. So I am just looking for equal borders here and that it's not wonky. If it is, it just means it was Julified. So if we didn't make it a tent card, you've got a card and a card, but I want to do something different. So we're going to do the tent fold. Now, your quilt block is going to lay on the front of this first, the card that's got your sentiment. But when I did this, I'm like, it just needs something. But I'm really happy that with this being 3" and this be 3.5, I can put another layer behind it. So what I did was I just went ahead and I cut another 3¼ square of basic white. And I am going to glue that to this layer. And then I'm going to glue it down. See how just that little extra layer of white really helped define the quilt pattern? For me, it did. When I had it up against the Blackberry Bliss, I don't know, there was just something about it. I thought, like, it just needs a little something. Well, because I have the extra room, I can put that 3¼ square behind it. You don't have to, but this is just something that came to mind after the fact, after I already had posted what to prep for today. So here's just another option for you. I just think that it sets the block. Before, my eye just kept, it felt like my eye was just going all the way around the quilt block and I couldn't get my eye to land. Okay. It's different for everybody. But now that I have that white, now I'm going to glue it down. Now you could pop this up with dimensionals if you wanted to. Okay, so we're just going to give that a press. And here's another option that I'm going to show you. Okay, so this isn't like, I don't know if I can budget. Okay. Remember how, was it last week or the week before, I was talking to you about putting texture on the back of your cards so that when the person is holding the card, it gives them a reason to flip it over. And that's where your signature button or your label that says that you made the card. Well, what I did was I took another piece of designer series paper. This is 4 by 5 1/4, and I ran this through the timber embossing folder so it has texture. And I'm going to give that person a reason to flip that card over to see who made it for them. And I just like to get the ripples out along the edges. And then while I've got it flipped over, for the very reason why I wanted them to feel the back and flip it over, I'm going to put my button right here on the back. And now we're going to complete the fun fold by bringing in our little W. And so I'm just going to squish it all together. And I guess it doesn't matter which side, but here I'm going to put some glue. And I'm just going to turn it over. I still have my W. And I'm going to put it down here at the bottom of the inside of my card. So once it's down there, I'm just going to line it up at the bottom. And keeping it closed like this, I'm going to put liquid glue here. I'm going to hold it with my thumb, and I'm going to close the front of my card. Just give that a press. And then here becomes my little tent. And so now it actually is going to be displayed because it's reminds you of an easel card, but it's just a little tent card. Okay? And all we've got left to do, I'm going to burnish these a little bit more so it helps lay it a little bit flatter. I am going to bring in the pecan and clear dots, and I'm going to put a big pecan pie, one right in the center of my pinwheel here. Whoops. And then I'm going to put some more bling right down here in this lower corner. I'm going to use another big one and a little one. Well, come on, you. And I just love the shine of these pecan dots. Just gives it a little bit of shine and brings your eye down all the way here. There's room here if you want to put a banner sentiment or any wording. There's still room down here that you can do that. I'm sorry, I got out of camera here. There's room here. But I'm going to let the quilt block shine, be the star. And then when they open the card, it says happy birthday. And again, it will sit up for display. And I'm going to, hold on. I want to, there we go. See how that's sitting up for display? Kind of like an easel card. But it's not, it's a tent fold, I think they call it. And so that's your mystery quilt block for this Thursday. I really, if you're looking at this stamp set, please don't hesitate. Get this stamp set. And remember, you get this cute little puppy. Oh my goodness, he's just like the cutest. So I hope that you enjoyed the mystery quilt block for today. There will be a PDF that will I will upload into the files this weekend. but you should be able to use the prep directions and follow along with the replay if you don't want to wait for the PDF. So everybody, thank you so much for joining me this Thursday morning. Have a very blessed day, and remember, keep all of those close in thought and prayer who are going through some really hard things right now. And it's not just, you know, people who are in the path of our natural disasters. There's always somebody that could use a little prayer and to be thought about today. So have a good day. I am off to make a donation to the Ottawa County Humane Society. We raised some money during my retreat for the dogs and the cats at that shelter. And I am on my way to meet the manager to present her with our donation. So I'll be checking in later within the group Quilt Cards and More. Please post your creations there. And have a really good day, everyone. Talk to you soon.